Good morning from Palm Springs.
Nice. Glad to see that you're still joining us, because I know it's bright and early for you out there, so we appreciate you getting up early to join us. Joe, I said yesterday, we have to talk to Joe diGenova, because I'm sure he's going to have a thing or two to say about Jeff Sessions getting the boot. So is this a good day for Joe diGenova?
Well, it's a good day for the Department of Justice, the President of the United States, and even for Jeff Sessions. This is long overdue. The President is entitled to have an Attorney General who works full-time, as Jeff did, but unfortunately Jeff couldn't work on all things because he had recused himself from the Russian probe. As a result of that, he injured himself severely inside the department and outside the department, and certainly with the President. So the President has chosen wisely. Matt Whitaker going to be a terrific acting Attorney General for 210 days, and also may actually become the final Attorney General when all is said and done. But he's an excellent guy and a very smart fellow.
How do you view the timing of this? Was this a well executed move by the White House immediately after the election, and as far away as they can from Nancy Pelosi being in charge of the House?
It was a perfect move. This was the time to do this. I don't think they were worried about who was in charge of the House. They needed to get this done as soon as the numbers had increased in the Senate for Republicans, so that Sessions' successor could be confirmed much easier than might have otherwise been the case. And that's what they were concerned about, a successor.
Okay.
The left already calling for Matt Whitaker to recuse himself because he has an opinion. And you're not allowed to have an opinion, even a legal one. Do we see him stay in the job, or do we see someone else replace him? Several names have been floated already.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of speculation about his successor, but here's the thing the President is going to do. The reason he's got this guy taking the job out for a test drive is he's been working with Matt Whitaker for a year. He likes him. Whitaker's, I don't know if you've seen him, he's a big, hulking guy. He has a command presence as opposed to the diminutive Mr. Sessions. Matt has worked with the President and with General Kelly. I'm sure some other names will be floated. I've talked to people about some names myself with people over there at the White House, so it's not unusual. But the President wants to make sure that the person he appoints doesn't have his own agenda as Attorney General, and that he understands that his job is to not only be the Attorney General of the United States and attorney for all the U.S. government, but to be aware of his responsibilities to the office of the President as well. And unfortunately, Jeff couldn't do that because of the way he had postured himself. I can tell you the person who won't be Attorney General, and that's Rod Rosenstein. And in a little noticed event, when Rod Rosenstein went to see General Kelly for his regular meeting, he was told to cancel a speech at the Aspen Institute today on the West Coast. I think Mr. Rosenstein's days are numbered.
How numbered are we talking?
I would think relatively shortly, because Mr. Whitaker has taken over control of supervision of the Mueller thing, and so Mr. Rosenstein's usefulness as an overseer has now evaporated. That was a strategic move to strip Rosenstein of his responsibilities. If he doesn't quit, I think he'll be fired.
All right, we're going to keep our eyes on that for sure. Thank you, as always, for giving us that lead. Let's talk about Matthew Whitaker. The press is sorting through a lot of the things he said in the past in order to establish whether or not they can disqualify him. One of the things he said last year was right here on this program. That was June 9th of last year, immediately following James Comey's testimony before Congress. I asked Matt whether or not he considered anything that Comey said to have enhanced the case of obstruction against the president. Here was Matt's answer. I want you to take a listen. So as a former U.S. attorney, you must have some sense, though, of whether or not we're closer to an obstruction of justice case after yesterday's testimony or further from it. How do you feel about that?
There is no criminal obstruction of justice charge to be had here. There's just the evidence is weak. No reasonable prosecutor would bring a case on what we know right now. And, because it all boils down to what was the president's intent, and we really don't have any evidence of what the president's intent was.
Okay, so that was Matt last year. Does that give you more encouragement, too, for him to take this role?
Well, yeah. I mean, he'd even be stronger today. He wouldn't give that answer today. The answer he would give today is under Article 2, the president can fire anybody he wants in the executive branch, and his motive is irrelevant. So he could have hated James Comey, and it wouldn't have mattered. So anyway, Matt is a smart fellow, and he'll do a great job for 210 days, and he might even be the Attorney General. But we'll see. The president may want somebody with a big name.
Do we start to see some of the declassification now that we've been waiting for that has not come? What are we going to see?
Yes, the president has indicated that he's going to order the declassification. I think it's going to happen relatively quickly.
What do you think we're going to see, Joe? Declassification. What exactly are we going to see declassified?
We're going to see we're going to see the excisions from the FISA applications involving Carter Page. We're going to see the James Baker 302s, the Bruce Orr 302s. There's all sorts of information. It's going to be substantial. It's going to drive the Democrats crazy up on the Hill. Adam Schiff will be screaming obstruction of the Mueller investigation, and it won't matter because the Mueller investigation is over except for some hanger-on cases about people making false statements to him. But other than that, obviously there's no Russian collusion, and there can't be because there wasn't any.
All right, more in a second with Joe. Thank you, Joe. Well, I want to get more from your perspective on what's next for the Mueller investigation and also what happened with that declassification material showing up in the hands of the Inspector General at the Justice Department and now possibly getting out. You can help us navigate that in a second. We're talking to Joe diGenova, legal analyst, former U.S. attorney. Joe, the president was the one, it seemed, who tapped the brakes on declassification a couple of weeks ago, saying he was going to send all these documents to the Inspector General of the Justice Department first. Now he seems to be saying, I'm getting ready to declassify again. Why the change? What happened there? Navigate it.
Because Rosenstein tried to extort from the president a promise not to declassify under the threat that if he did declassify, he said Mueller will view this as an obstruction and add it to his report. And so the president backed off. What Rosenstein was trying to do was not protect the president, but rather to protect himself, Rosenstein, against the revelations, which would show that not only did he have a conflict, but it was deeply involved in the effort to try to remove the president under the 25th Amendment. The president has decided to do this because Rosenstein is gone.
Gotcha. So now that Whitaker is in charge, that threat does not hang over his head at all.
It does not, and in fact, it never existed. Rosenstein was doing what he always does. He was lying, deceiving, and manipulating the situation to his advantage.
Now, what role do the two countries that we supposedly were going to embarrass, or they had asked that this not be released? Yeah, when everybody knows now it's the Brits and the Australians. What about that role? Are we no longer concerned about them?
Well, there never was legitimate concern for sources and methods involving the Brits or the Aussies. What was of concern to the Brits was their embarrassment over the fact, and I've said this before, over illegal electronic surveillance conducted by GCHQ, which is the NSA, the National Security Agency of the United Kingdom, is called GCHQ. They conducted illegal electronic surveillance on Americans overseas at the request of the FBI and the CIA. That is what they fear being disclosed.
All right, what's next for Bob? What's next for Bob Mueller now that he's got a new boss?
I would think that he's possibly going to charge a couple of people with lying to him, but after that, I mean, he's done. There's nothing more on Russia. There never was. I mean, it's basically he's going to, who knows with somebody like Mueller. I mean, the guy obviously is. This is ridiculous that he's been here this long.
Very interesting. Now, Joe, what moves on? They were hearing about Kavanaugh impeachment as well from the Democrats. We know that Jerry Nadler was discussing that on the Acela. So I want to ask you about that. Are there any grounds at all that you can see to impeach Kavanaugh at all? Do they have anything in their arsenal?
Well, they can make up anything they want, just like they made up the charges. By the way, Christine Blasey Ford, not a thing that she said happened. She may have been delusional and believed it, but her testimony is completely false. There is utterly no corroboration whatsoever of anything that she said. And now we know that the four people involved in providing false information to the Judiciary Committee are going to be under investigation by the Justice Department. Whether or not anybody's charged, I don't know. But it is very important that people who purposely lie to a Senate committee to obstruct a Supreme Court nomination face massive federal investigation for what they have done to the American people and the process.
I must have missed it, just 30 seconds. Joe, did Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Dianne Feinstein, any of them apologize to Judge Kavanaugh for the false accusations?
Oh my goodness! You know what? That they're going to be fun to watch as they run for president. They're going to really be fun to. Cory's going to come out of the closet. Kamala's going to talk about all of her relationships in California. It's going to be great.
Wow, that's quite a prediction. Well, thank you, Joe. Really always appreciate having you on, sir.
Thank you, Joe. Now go back to sleep.
Always loaded for.
If you or a loved one get leg cramps or foot cramps, you know how painful it can be, how disruptive they can be. Muscle cramps can jolt you out of a sound sleep or interrupt your daily life. Well, listen carefully, because I recently learned about TheraWorks Relief. It's a non-greasy foam that's proven to relieve muscle cramps fast and reduce muscle soreness. Plus, with daily use, TheraWorks Relief can even prevent muscle cramps before they start, so you can get a full night's sleep or do the activities you love without worry. TheraWorks Relief only takes minutes to apply, absorbs quickly, and it works. People love the results. You've probably seen Dr. Drew Pinsky on TV talking about TheraWorks Relief, and many of my colleagues on radio are also talking about TheraWorks Relief. Now, the holiday season is right around the corner, so if you know someone who suffers with muscle cramps or muscle soreness, I can't think of a better stocking stuffer. TheraWorks Relief is my choice for preventing and relieving muscle cramps. Make it yours, too. Get TheraWorks Relief today at Walmart, CVS, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, or by talking to your pharmacist. Learn more at TheraWorksRelief.com.
So if you spend any time with me, and if you have started to follow me on either Facebook or Twitter, you know that one of my absolute favorite people in the universe is a guy I work with the Institute for Liberty and the podcast, our podcast, the Langercast. His name is Jerry Rogers. He's a VP for administration at IFL, founder of Cap Allies. You can Capitalize. You can find him at Cap Allies on Twitter. In fact, I'll put that up both on the Andrew Langer Show page, and I will tweet out his information. So, Jerry, I got a whole list here. I'm going to go through the list with you, and I want to get your reaction to each of these. Are all suggestions. Don't give me your full feedback until after you hear the whole list. But here are the suggestions thus far as replacements for Jeff Sessions as Attorney General. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Here's where we go. Trey Gowdy, Pam Bondi, Chris Christie, Joe diGenova, Chris Kobach, Lindsey Graham, Judge Judy, Jay Sekulow, Mike Huckabee, did I say Lindsey Graham? And finally, Gerald Rogers, America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. Anybody stand out to you on that list?
Well, who's not on the list stands out. What about Laura Ingraham?
You know something? Somebody tweeted in Laura's name. I needed to get to that. That was on the list down the road. So yes, Laura Ingraham going on the list. But
yeah, I'll add that to the list. Yes.
Okay. Jerry's suggestion, Laura Ingraham. All right. But anybody else on the list already that stands out?
Well, Trey Gowdy does, of course, right? I mean,
yeah.
I was disappointed when he decided not to run for re-election. He has a prosecutor's mind. He is, in my mind, an honest broker on issues. And you know what? I would love to see the different haircut changes from day to day if he's back in government.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've got a couple of tweets critical of him, saying that he's more of a showboat, a show pony, than serious. So that's, which I find very interesting in that regard. What do you think though? There have been a couple of very serious suggestions about Chris Christie. You're from Jersey. You're still dialed into Jersey politics. What are your thoughts on Christie as an attorney general?
Well, he's a big personality, and he's a bit of a narcissist. He was a good governor his first term, lost his way his second term, and you know, I'm not sure if he and the president could be in the same room together for very long. I think they would butt heads. Chris Christie is not a team player. I don't think so. He's someone who probably still thinks he should be president.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, my guest is Jerry Rogers, founder of Capital Allies, vice president of administration of the Institute for Liberty. iChooseLiberty.org is the website. I hung out with Jerry for a good chunk early on election night. Jerry was rather Eeyorish. I'm gonna tell secrets out of school, Gerald. Jerry was rather Eeyorish going into the evening. But yesterday morning you woke up. It was a brand new day. You were positively ebullient. I like that word.
Yes.
Tell us why.
Well, look. I did not watch returns from 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock. Because again, I was depressed, and I thought America was being undone. I woke up got up at midnight and watched the analysis from midnight until 3 in the morning. And I thought, on balance, America had a good night. I think Republicans had a better night than expected. I think, on balance, Republicans won the midterm elections. 26 seats in the House. The Democrats pick up. Listen, after 2 years of resistance and outrage and unhinged behavior, the best they could come up with was a very slim majority in the House that they will lose in 2020. I think the Republicans increasing their majority in the Senate and even more importantly, winning Florida, winning Ohio, and Iowa. I think those are the big prizes of the night.
And you had been particularly concerned about Florida. And I want you to talk about why Florida, and to some extent you weren't expressing concern about Ohio, but the same reasons why you're pleased about Florida, you also are pleased about Ohio. Talk about why that is.
Well, I mean, look. I mean, take a step back, right? The economy growing at 4%, wages are up. The economy is growing. We are in a good place. The trade policies, the Supreme Court nominations. And for Trump to win re-election in 2020, it's going to go through Florida. And if there was a radical progressive at the head of government there, look, you and I we've worked on the other side of Democrats. Democrats will do anything to win. We saw that with Kavanaugh with the confirmation process. They're willing to lie and cheat and even destroy. And the fact of the matter is, not having a Democrat governor in Florida, I think, makes the playing field even in Florida. And with even, I like President Trump's chances.
Going back to something that initially that you said, and there's going to be a question in here, Jerry, so stay with me. My guest, of course, Jerry Rogers from the Institute for Liberty, Capital Allies. I just tweeted out a link to his Twitter handle from my Twitter page as well. You're absolutely correct. The Democrats they picked up within the average, the margin of the average of what the out of power party picks up in a midterm election, going back to, thinking about the outrage or the deep and abiding concern, I should say, about President Obama and what he was doing with regards to a variety of policies. The Democrats lost 60 plus seats in the 2010 election. Losing around 30 seats is within the average and nothing. But I want to go here real quick. Because I just got handed this. This is from the Wall Street Journal today. Democrats poised for power positions. I'm going to give you a list, Gerald Rogers, and I want you to tell me which of these people scares you the most. At Ways and Means, Richard Neal from Massachusetts is chairman. Maxine Waters is chairwoman of the Financial Services Committee. Adam Schiff. Listen, Jerry, I would like to get through this list without laughing. Hold on real quick.
Sorry.
Adam Schiff as chairman of the Intelligence Committee, Jerry Nadler, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Elijah Cummings.
New York.
Yes, because when I think about congressional leadership, I want Massachusetts, California, New York, and Maryland to lead the way as chairman of. Go ahead.
Let me give you my most wise political analysis right now. Unfortunately for the country, the Democratic Party, its leadership, is a clown show. And listen, Andrew, look, here's a good thing for Democrats that happened during the midterms. You had a handful of center-right, moderate Democrats win seats in Texas, in New Jersey, and elsewhere. And it's better for the country when the Democratic Party is reasonable and center. Unfortunately, its leadership is cuckoo. Right?
Yes.
That's a technical term in politics. And we'll see. Unfortunately, because they have such a slim majority, there won't be many passes to hand out in terms of votes. And so the moderates who were elected, and by the way, they had to lie to their constituents to get elected, right? They had to say that they weren't going to go the way of the Pelosi's and the Nadlers and the rest of them. But they're going to have to vote that way because there's so few of them in terms of the majority. And we're going to see 2020 is going to be another big election, and I think we're going to see a red wave response to the blue ripple of 2018.
Blue Ripple sounds like the kind of thing you drink with when you're having some of those Swisher sweets, Jerry.
Jerry Nadler knows all about Blue Ripple.
Well, speaking of which, so I got handed this as well. This is from Molly Hemingway. I think it's in the Federalist.
Sure, she's great.
Yeah, the title of this is Incoming Democrat Chairman. Dems will go all in for Russia, impeach Kavanaugh for perjury. Apparently, Molly Hemingway or somebody, I don't know if this was, somebody was sitting near Jerry Nadler on the Acela, the Amtrak train from New York back to D.C., and I guess he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He's talking to everybody. First of all, Jerry, isn't there a general rule, don't conduct sensitive business on